che comunque il calcio è imprevedibile e le cose non sono mai scontate, quindi è anche la bellezza, no, di questo sport.
Io rappresentavo per questa squadra, era quello che non mollava mai, quello che doveva fare stare sempre su il morale, ma io mi ci trovavo bene perché sono sempre stato uno che mi piaceva dare fuoco ai miei compagni, caricarli prima delle partite.
Il mio sogno di essere avverato è uno dei sogni dei bambini, di tanti bambini.
È un qualcosa per la gente che riusciamo a fare diventare matti, riusciamo a fare diventare felici e contenti.
Con questa maglia devo veramente fare una performance diversa perché sto rappresentando.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night to those who are about to sleep if you've had a very long day. And Ramadan Kareem to everyone who's in a holy month. And a very special show for you today. As always, we always have our special co-host, Sean, and a very special guest, Arts. Hello, everyone.
Hi, everyone.
Buongiorno a tutti, ciao a tutti. I am absolutely destroyed today. I know exactly how Hasni feels when he gets up at 4 a.m., 3 a.m. to watch a bloody game. I stayed up to watch the Formula One, and I feel like an absolute idiot today because it was rain, dry, and every car spun off, and I think Ferrari ended up, I don't know, in the toilet somewhere at the bottom part of the top 10. Absolute garbage. That's, oh my God, Hasni, I don't know how you do it, mate. Watching games without going to sleep and then going to work in the day. No, it's not possible.
It's fine, John, I'll tell you this. It's fine if the team that you support or if Milan wins. It's not fine when something like what happened for you this morning. When you have a terrible race, and I'm also watching F1, and just to plug in our WhatsApp group a little bit. Please join us. You talk about AC Milan. You talk about F1. We're all okay about it. So yeah, it's not a good start for Ferrari, but I do believe Ferrari is more of a second part of the season team. A little bit like how AC Milan is the second half of the season team.
Oh, second part of nothing. Art, how was your week, sir? Our new guest.
I think it was good right before the game, until right before the game. Yeah. And then it started to become good again after the equalizer. Yeah. Otherwise, London, I think it's sometimes you think it's starting to become a summer, and then it starts to go back to winter.
Mate, I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely with you. So I think, Art, you live near central London, don't you, right?
Yeah, very busy.
Yeah, and we both work in central London, so I know what it means. Last weekend it was like 17 degrees. People were out in their t-shirts enjoying it, and it went back down to where I live in Cambridge. It went down to -3 at night again. It's the UK. It's absolutely insane. Hey, Cacciavit, buonasera. So Australia's joined us. For him, I think the race started at like 3 or 4 p.m. So good for him. Really bad for me. I don't want any more races in Australia.
How do you have energy left for any other sport? I will never know.
Oh, mate. When you're there are two things in Italy. When you grow up in Italy, there are only two sports: calcio and Formula One. And Ferrari's in your blood. You can't do anything about it, Art. It's like it is a drug. Ferrari is something. For like 20 years, I never missed a single race until it went under a paywall. And now I've got a way of watching it through the paywall, let's just say. But Ferrari, since Schumacher retired, has not really. He had one more world championship, and then after that, it's
banter era.
Banter era. Yeah, it's like double banter era, Art. It's actually pretty hard. You get hit twice.
Yeah. But I think one of our other members in our WhatsApp group, Strasbourg Steve, and I think he's been on this channel quite a while back. He watches to my knowledge, he watches almost every game in so many different time zones with so many screens on. I don't know how he does it.
Yeah, he's mad. Yesterday, I swear to you, Husney, he was watching a team. I didn't know where they were, what league they were in. And I think I know a little bit about football, but I had no idea what league that was. It's mad. Kim, so Australia's with us.
Hi, Kim.
Buonasera, Kim. Buonasera.
Kim was at the race, yeah. So you saw it
Oh
live.
yeah, he was actually Art. He was actually on a Friday practice, so he actually sent video of the actual cars going around the track.
Wow.
Pretty cool. Yeah, he's in Melbourne, so I think
Okay.
Chavit might be in Sydney. So yeah, Australians love the timing of our podcasts. Yeah, the game plan didn't work. You're right, Kim. Absolutely. So we've got a lot to get through today. That's why we started even earlier. We didn't start at 9. We started at 8. And I mean, our thumbnail. So this belt came to my attention when Art sent it to me first, and then it also about an hour later went through the Milanista 360 chat as well by other people that sent it in, going, "This can't be true. Wonder how much it is." And what did we entitle this show, Husney?
Mid-table Smackdown, because this is what it is. Not only a Smackdown for the result, but a Smackdown for your money. $550. Come on.
Absolutely mad. There's got to be somebody that will buy this. I don't know who they are, but the reason we put Forlani is because he's the guy that's come out as the winner, hasn't he? He's gone into the ring with Moncada and Ibra, and he has come out as the winner. He's got all the cards according to the Italian newspapers, so it's his belt. He should he should walk around wearing it, right? So let's go. We've got a lot to cover, and let's start, as we always, at the beginning. The game last night, Como, AC Milan. So I listened to the game live, guys. I saw the highlights as well. For those of you who watched it in Technicolor, what was your view of the game? Let's start with you, Art, since you're our guest.
I think it was similar to any other games that Sergio has coached Milan. We start from behind. I used to say with Pioli, we start 1-0. With Sergio, we start 2-0 behind.
Yeah.
And that has become like a tradition, I think. Start slow, like we haven't practiced, like players don't know what to do. The other teams very soon gains confidence. They forget they are in San Siro. It's a full house. We need those points. They just the way the body language from everyone. I mean, there is no team, so they easily can think of scoring a goal, and then they didn't even defend. You know, they played such a beautiful game that you would have expected from someone with Fabregas' experience as a player, being at Barca and Chelsea. They played a very beautiful game. You wouldn't think which one is Milan, which one is Como.
Yeah, no, agreed. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So, so you guys know I listened to Rinaldo Morelli, right? And the thing that he kept saying is, Milan players in the first half, especially Milan players, please stop passing it to Da Cunha. He is not a Milan player. Stop passing it to him. Because they were all over us. They moved the ball around so much better than us. They honestly absolutely deserved their halftime lead of 1-0. I don't think any Milan players, however biased, whatever glasses you're wearing, can say that we deserved to be ahead. Saying that, Musa, I did see it even in the highlights. That miss from Musa was like, as in missing the target entirely, was in 5 minutes was pretty shocking, guys. What was your view on it, Husney?
Yeah, the first half, I agree with you, and this is something we can expect. This is that the teams will always come right at us because they see us at I don't know what, somewhat of the eternal slump. So it's very easy to score against this Milan team, and all you need to do is just pile on the pressure, and we have absolutely zero motivation. This is what I saw. But there were two opportunities where we could actually put those sort of perspectives to rest and really put the pressure on immediately. not immediately, but very early on against Como, if Musa knows what he needs to do with the ball, and that is his round thing in the back of the net. Just get it in the back of the net with your feet, not with your hands. Get it in the back of the net. He can't do that. So when you can't do that, our weakness grows. Yeah, so we start to look even more vulnerable than we already are. But I do again want to say that there is a highlight inside the midfield, and I think this is starting to look like a real player that we have here, and that is Bondo. So I like Bondo's movements and how he's recovering the ball. Give me a little bit of that Cassie, being very aggressive against players that are coming at us. And also to Bondo's credit, he even pulled, I think, a player back. I don't remember who it was, because Musa lost the ball and got a yellow card, and he had to be subbed off.
Yes. That was 5 minutes. So 5 minutes after Musa missed that chance, that's when Bondo. It's 10 minutes is when Bondo got the yellow card. So when I heard that, I thought, oh no, they're going to target him. A more experienced team would have targeted him to get him sent off. But he managed to survive until half time before he was taken off by the manager.
I think Musa has to be in a very separate chapter when we talk about Milan. Musa is a phenomenon. It's nothing can explain. It should be on a political level, and because I've never seen a player at this level being given 75 games to try. 75 times, 2 or 3 seasons now. And he's been played in different positions by different coaches, at home, away, in Champions League, in Copa, in Serie A. This guy is not the guy. Just, how bad should our Primavera or our bench be that this guy is not replaceable?
Well, Fofana didn't start, and he put Musa in instead. And the stats that I heard on the commentary, which I just checked with Husney, the commentator said, oh, he just missed his opportunity for his first ever goal for AC Milan. So, what? He finds himself in all these positions because he's played so often. And everybody says he runs a lot. Okay, you run a lot. Do you want to put a marathon runner in the Milan squad as opposed to an actual footballer? Because that's what is starting to really appear. Not starting to appear. As you said, great way of putting it, Art. He deserves his own category. And I don't want anybody to support this guy. Enough. Again, I've always said, data speaks for itself. Data. And in this case, data tells me that it's enough. Put Fofana in. Try Fofana with Bondo. Let's see what that does. Give Musa the bloody bench. But anyway,
John, I think I can picture him being a very successful player in American football, where he only has to grab the ball and run. He will be an amazing player there. I can picture that. But when it comes to making the decision, or being smart, or angling the shoot, or seeing other players, making the final decision in the last second, that he's not made for that.
Right. Well, it's
yeah, but it's that, and I do want to ask both you guys' opinion on this. Is that we're not in the Champions League anymore? We just have two games in the Copa. Is there any real need for a rotation like this? I mean, the way that I'm starting feeling is like, are we rotating for something? I don't know.
That's exactly what I said.
Point. Yeah, and actually, that was mentioned in the comments when I was watching. They said, "Hey, this is after the first half. At half time, people were calling in saying, Conce South had a week to prepare for this game. That's what he prepared, guys."
Hi.
Hello, Gunardi, and let's just read some comments here whilst we're here. Might as well get an Ethiopian instead of Musa because they're good at running. I mean, and then hashtag Musa's not the guy. And you, Husney, Musa's Krunic. Well, here we go again.
I mean, I swear I miss Krunic when I look at Musa. Krunic was much better than Musa.
Oh man,
and I hated him.
I mean, you can't. It's not wrong, is it? Though it's not wrong.
There were games where we actually felt like we have a real CM. I mean, very
Yeah,
few
yeah. There were a
recruits
few.
showed something.
Yeah. He's right. He's right, hasn't he? So there are games where he actually did something, and he did score goals, as opposed to a guy
Yeah,
who.
I won't deny that. But there is one player that we've been missing and would have been perfect if we wanted to have a decent run towards the end of the season. But we somehow pissed him off and we sent him to France. That is Ismail Benacer. Can you imagine that we had
Uh,
not say the peak of prime Benacer, but we had a decent Benacer where Musa is? It would really turn our fortunes around.
Benacer Bondo would be an interesting thing to see, but I've got to say, I did look up how Benacer's form was at Marseille. It's not good. He's getting quite low average scores per game. So, yeah, they think he's wondering. They're wondering whether he's starting to turn it around. But their comment was that he's most likely not going to be signed. Can I just say,
You
at
know,
halftime?
just
Yes,
to add
Connor.
something to what Hosni said. Hosni, I'm really at this point, I'm afraid to criticize any player because they will replace him with someone worse. I remember I used to say Kessie is not
You're
the
right.
guy, and they never replaced Kessie. And then I said maybe Tunali is still not there, and then they replaced him with a bunch of worse players. And I'm afraid next year we will be saying we miss Musa because they just don't replace it with someone better. That's a trait.
I don't know what
You
you're
know what,
bringing.
Art? I've been hearing a lot that many fans want the salad back, Salmakers.
I've heard that a
Yeah.
lot. But actually, let's leave that point, Hasni, for when we look at the section we call "You Be the Coach," okay? Because it actually fits in. So let's just say halftime subs. To make it clear, Fofana came in for Bondo because Bondo had the yellow card. Jimenez came in for Theo Hernandez. That's another one that I think slipped under a lot of people. And you know what's really, really funny? This is just, again, another Musa point. So the manager takes off Bondo because he got himself a yellow card in 10 minutes. And then 1 minute later, 2 minutes later, Musa got himself a yellow card. He's just like, oh, well, I want one too. So he ends up being on the edge. So, of course, 4 minutes later, the manager goes, oh, well, you forced my hand. I need to take off Musa. And he puts on none other than Felix. So it just kind of shows you Musa and Felix, are they interchangeable for each other? God knows. And I'll say this, my final opinion on this, because I think the Pulisic goal and the Reindeer goals were good. I think let's have a look at the stats. Probably it's the way that you should look at this. Is let's have a look at the stats, guys. Oh, just one thing I wanted to do, guys. I'm gonna go to the stadium and I'm gonna visit Como because, and I wanted to put this up. Look how beautiful this stadium is. Look at the background. It's a stunning area. Lake Como is gorgeous. I have to go. That's definitely a tourist destination. You got to pop into the stadium to have a look at it. But let's have a look at the stats. That's the starting lineup, as we said, 4-2-3-1. Interestingly, 4-2-3-1 for Como, but they actually have the players that fit that formation, and they showed us in that first half. But how we won it, in my opinion, we won it through better individuals. This is how we keep winning games, is individual moments. It is not a build-up of play. It is a moment of pure brilliance from someone, whether it's Pulisic, and again, Pulisic just keeps standing up and proving himself, or whether it's Reindeer. Although I've got to say, I've had a lot of messages from people saying, what is this celebration that Reindeer has now switched to? Is he thinking he's DeMarco or something? I'd say, look, he scored the winner. It was a good goal, but it doesn't do a lot for us in the league. If we look at the stats of the game, actually Como were the dominant force. You know, they really were the better team throughout the game, and overall, they had a goal disallowed because of a shoulder being offside. And what we were talking about on the chat was, Inzaghi would probably have had a career total number of goals of 1 if VAR it was so harsh and existed at the time. But it is what it is, guys. We could have been 2-0 down quite easily. Fabregas afterwards was saying, that was a regular 2-0, but you know what, whatever. He got himself sent off. They went down to 10 men. They kind of lost the plot, and we went and won the game. And guys, I'm going to be completely honest. I put £10 on Milan to win when they were 1-0 down, so I was very happy. It paid for my Chinese food last night. Grazie Milan. So right.
John, just look at the number of fouls. Could you please go back?
Yes, I'll bring it back. 16 fouls, yes.
6 of them belong to Fofana. 6 of them. And I was amazed how he didn't get a red card. I mean, he was doing one foul after the other. I mean, I don't know who has taught him to defend like that, to bump into players from behind and try to just take the ball from the underneath their feet. It's just amazing how this guy still plays in Milan. And we miss and we miss him when we see Musa.
Yeah, but if the thing to say, like, we're the home team, we didn't have a single corner. Do you understand this? In this San Siro, by the way, another point. This is again well remembered here from myself. Sold out San Siro, and the headline in the newspapers were the Curva Sud are gonna stay out of the stadium for 15 minutes, and then they're gonna walk in, and I'm like, great, wonderful process. That's really gonna rub everyone's noses in. But after 15 minutes, you're gonna have a completely full stadium. And for some reason, although Inter are top of the league, we have more sold out home matches than Inter does. It tells you a lot about how well the machine is working at selling tickets for the club, how well the marketing machine is working for the club. Como had a proper 4-2-3-1. Hasni, please speak. Yes.
Yeah. Can I just add one thing? And what to me really turned the game around a little bit is at the halftime, and it's something that is happening quite often, and I'm not liking it. The fact that we can't really impose ourselves from the beginning of the game and just follow it through. So halftime, several substitutions were made. Jimenez, and I think this is a bit of a sore point, is that Jimenez wasn't looking that effective. But on the other hand, who we brought on was Tammy, and I do want to credit Tammy. I've been a bit of his defender, by the way.
He had an assist, yes.
Yeah, he had an assist, and what he was doing on the pitch really helped the team a lot, even though he wasn't on the score sheet. And there were also some moments that I thought from João Felix that I thought were useful, but not too outstanding. But yeah, I mean, they were helpful in terms of how we really imposed ourselves in the second half. So those two players, those two subs, I thought made quite a bit of difference. None of you guys agree or not?
Art, what do you think?
I completely agree.
Yeah, he follows you on that, and I would say, listen, the second half, the game became fragmented when it went to 1-1, and they got their red card. It was very clearly, if we did not win that game, it would have been shambolic. But they still had the chance to equalize. As I said, I don't like also the fact that our games are not based on some kind of tactic. Now, I don't want people to turn around and say, Conceição is a good manager, he's really not getting the time. No, he's getting a full week to prepare for the game, and we cannot impose. And the other big aspect of this, I firmly believe we do not have the players for a 4-2-3-1. And I think the entire fan base knows this. Whenever we're looking at a 4-2-3-1, he keeps rotating players in there and trying. Even Fofana, he does not seem to suit a 4-2-3-1. Yeah, he makes a good killer pass, actually, for a goal. He's a very good forward passer of the ball, but he's not there as a defensive midfielder to smash things. He's not doing a good job of it, right? Probably the best fit player there is Bondo. But that's it in the entire squad because, as you said, Hasni, correctly, we got rid of the other guy, Benacer.
John,
I also have a... Go ahead.
Sorry. Do you remember, John, when we were chatting once? I don't want to go back to Fonseca, but once we were chatting during one of those matches under Fonseca, and I was telling you that for first time, I'm actually enjoying watching Milan.
Mm-hmm.
We are trying different ways of scoring. We are attacking. We are, keeping the ball in the loop. And for the first time, that disappeared. That doesn't. I think except when Pulisic scored that goal, which was beautiful teamwork. The rest of the game, you don't really enjoy this team playing. They struggle to find players. Leao just runs and sends the ball, and he doesn't know where the ball would go. And that's not how you actually make a cross. You have to see your player and then make the cross, not just a shot in the dark.
Yeah, there is no actual gameplay visible. Since Conceição's come in, it's like we've had 3 straight managers insisting on this 4-2-3-1. Okay, and we all thought Conceição would come in and he would be the one to say, right, I'm going to impose a different formation, and people are saying, oh, he needs time to do that. You don't need time to do that because you're losing so many games that you've taken us out of everything. You've got nothing to lose now. Just change the formation, and in a minute we're going to have a section that we've called You Be the Manager, and what you'll see is over and over again, person after person selected Milan formations that were not based on a 4-2-3-1. I'll just read some comments here since we're at this point. Kachavit says he's sick to death of the 4-2-3-1. I think the entire fan base is sick of it. And then some people say people was born offside. 100%. 100%. He came out on the other side of the line. And yeah, give me 3 at the back, please.
Add something here, John, please.
Yeah.
Something that I noticed. I was watching a Milan game with Fiorentina from 2009 about a month ago, and I realized Inzaghi was in offside maybe 5 times during only the first. And you know why he was like that? Because they created a lot of chance for him. That meant that our playmakers and he were doing great. There was one chance after the other. How many times Jimenez got the ball in the box? Maybe 0.
Yeah, I am, as I said before, I think in previous podcasts, I'm a little concerned of Jimenez came in from Feyenoord and started like a house on fire when he began, but whether it was assists or whether it was goals, goal contributions was good. And the thing is, being around this squad and the way it does not play football, it kind of waits for individual moments. He has to get used to something quite different. And I've always said apathy is infectious. So you've got to be careful not to get the apathy and catch apathy from the other players. I'm very worried about it because I think he's a very, very decent striker. If he keeps that hunger and he gets those chances, I think he will put them away. He's clearly the player that wants to be on that position. But yeah, as you said, Art, I think, Leao's very... It's like when he comes off the bench, he's so much better because players are tired and he's able to run at them. But surely, we discussed last week, now you've got a full week for every game. Just what's wrong with these players that they don't start games? Como made us look... Yeah. Oh, listen. And this is another point I wanted to make, and I'll say it now. I think this might be the last time we beat Como in a while. You can tell that there's something being built there that is really serious. That squad, if they manage to keep the players, Nico Paz, Cunha, wow. If they manage to keep those players and that manager together, that's going to do something. And Dele Alli, comes back 10 minutes of his 10 minutes red card. Thank you very much, Dele. Thank you very much. I think he should. If he was one of us, I'd be slaughtering him right now.
What do you guys think of the fact that Carl Walker tried to plead Dele Alli's case for him? I mean, I found that a bit strange. Usually we would be quiet. Not say we would be complaining as well, but that was something odd, really. And I know they're friends, but we are in the middle of a match.
Hasn't, that's all it is, mate. It's this stupid, oh, you're a fellow Englishman. I'm going to back you up. No.
I think he was worried about his mental health, which is, again, if you're a professional player, you're playing for Como in Serie A, you have to keep it together. And if you don't, then it's your problem. And because you have the access to best psychologists and psychiatrists and clinical access, everything. When you're playing with Milan, you have to play nicely. If you don't, you get a red card. You have to face consequences and get the hell out. And then what Walker was doing. I've never seen it before. I've never seen it. This shouldn't be acceptable. You remember, we are one goal ahead, so it could have been 2-2 at any point. So what the hell are you doing?
I think it's a point of, it's your mate. You're just trying to help your mate, and that's gone above the fact that you're being paid by our club that is supposed to win this game at all costs, because we're in a desperate situation and we're supposedly still trying to make top four. So, all right, let's get to the next slide. So this is the league table at the moment, guys. Husni, are you able to move us to the side of this? I don't know if you can. Okay, great, brilliant, thank you. So we're now played.
Before we move on, John, this is a great
Yeah.
point in the chat.
What's up?
Look at the chat. What about my mental health watching this Milan?
So just to give you, I want to give everyone a bit of context. Art, what do you do as a job?
I'm a psychiatrist.
There you go. So it's very. We've had and I'll invite people. I might load it onto the Milanista, one of the, because we did have a long conversation, didn't we, Art, over a year ago actually, about mental health in football and the mess that following Milan is doing and what you should do for your mental health. So we recorded an episode of about an hour. And I might load it into the Milanista as a specialist pod, so you can watch it. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Kachavit. Mental health watching this Milan, and we've had, Art. You're not part of the WhatsApp group at the moment, but I'll let you know. There's a lot of discussion about why we have fans that are completely just letting this wash over them and accept it. Like, our confusion is, why is the stadium sold out? Why are there people that want to turn up and take photos? Why does Husni exist and buy every single jersey that exists? He's going to be buying that belt, he told me soon.
I was just checking out the price. Nothing more than that.
But yeah, it's a question we all ask ourselves. But it's like saying, I grew up in Italy, and Ferrari's in my blood. It's just there. I have to watch them, whenever the opportunity comes. And I kind of feel the same about Milan, but for the first time this year, I've just said to myself, if I need to be doing other stuff, I'll be doing other stuff and listen to Milan, at least audio. So I'm up with the game, but I'm not spending money or getting too invested in it. To be completely honest, we won 2-1 yesterday. How did you feel, Art, when we won the game? Were you happy? Were you ecstatic?
Not at all. Actually, I was asking myself why we are watching Milan at this point.
There you go.
I mean, and the worst thing was that I had this feeling in November, because
yes,
it's a routine when our season ends exactly in November, when there is nothing to fight for. And one of the reasons why this team starts to decline is because they have nothing to fight for. It's just routine paperwork, go to work, train for a few hours, go to the match. The league is not so competitive, so you might end up in top 5. And in Champions League, if you face Napoli, you may win. If not, Dynamo Zagreb or any other team, then you lose. You go home. We made few money, and that's the whole thing.
Yeah, it's been very monotonous. That's a good term. Husni, why are you writing messages in the chat saying Husni out? Stop that, mate. You're on drugs. So let's just say Milan now is in 7th place, 47 points. Keep an eye, guys. Juventus are on 52. It looks like we're getting closer. Juventus have some. In fact, there's a lot of fixtures this week where the top teams are meeting each other, so they have to drop points. Now, you might think that's an opportunity. So I wanted to show you the league table as it is right now, and then I wanted to take you through something else. So I'll tell you what, Hasni, I'm going to do something different for the first time. I'm going to do something else. We'll have this discussion in a minute. I want to move to. Oh God, no, we can't. I was going to move to the fixtures, but we'll do that in a minute then. All right, let's move on to this section. It's Milan Futuro. You guys know that I have my opinion on Milan Futuro. Hasni has his. I'm sure every fan has their opinion on Milan Futuro. But last week we had an interesting discussion, and Shane said something. He said, let's just be honest, guys. At this juncture, Milan Futuro are doing so badly that there's probably a lot of crap in there. The players are probably not all as good as we want. Although we want Yamal to be another Yamal to be in there. Maybe there isn't. Maybe we just got to accept that maybe it's not that good because they're not performing. So Milan Futuro, here's a picture of Ibrahimovic and his mate Kirovski, who have put in place a really terrible system set up in 2024. And now the new head coach is Massimo Oddo, who I believe was the head coach of Pescara, who's one of the teams that are doing really well in Serie C in our group. Now, my point was, and I made it without having any facts, to you, Hasni, and Art. I didn't know any facts about the average age, but I said, I bet that our squad average age, starting lineups average age, is much younger than anyone else in that league. And after that pod, and what Shane said, I said, you know what, I'm going to go and check it out, and I'm going to go and have a look. And I used Transfer Market, and they brought up the facts on average age. So this is the average age of all the teams in Serie C, Girone B, or Group B, in other words. So please note Milan Futuro's average age. That is, remember, in January, we bought several players who were like near 30 years old, if not above 30 years old. But the average age starting lineup is only 21.1. This means that within Milan Futuro, we must have players who are 16 years old playing. And notice, look, even if we were to freeze time for 2 years, we would still have the youngest squad in the entire league. Okay, so noticed Ternara 27.8 average, Spal 28, Entella 26.8, Lucchese 26.3. Just want you to keep an eye on that, right? Now watch this. Here are the top teams in Serie C, and here are the oldest clubs. Do you see a really, really clear? Virtus Entella 26.8, Ternara 27.8, Torres 28.7. Yeah? So in Serie C, of course, the quality of the football is not that good. And this is my point. Of course, the quality of the football is not good. That's why it's Serie C. But the physicality is much more important in that league because it's mostly based on strength. It's not based on technical ability. And Milan, being the youngest team, is getting physically bullied because it does not have a balance of players. So that's the point I wanted to make here. And actually, the data proves it, that Milan Futuro is putting out a squad that is way too young to do anything in this league. So we had a conversation, Art and I, and that's also what sparked this research. And Art was saying everything should be focused on the Serie A team. Yeah? Ibrahimovic, when he set up Milan Futuro, he said, this is to prepare players to enter into the Serie A team. Okay, so that means let's just treat Milan Futuro as a throwaway team. Yeah? They're just there getting beaten up every single week, losing confidence and not achieving anything. And every now and then, the coach, you know my point, he pulls out players because he needs homegrown players. So he pulls out potentially the best players that he considers from Milan Futuro. Often Camarda, who plays for 2 minutes and doesn't do anything because he's only playing for 2 minutes, he's brought in. And then a bunch of other kids who are never even put on. So now that you see Milan Futuro is basically put out to lose. It was. I don't think it could physically be able to compete against this age. And I'll give you an example of myself. When I was in my mid-20s, I used to play five-a-side football in every Wednesday in London. We used to go play those. It's like a big cage, five-a-side cage match. And one day, the boss's son turns up. He was, let me think, he was about 1.82 m already, and he was only 15 years old. But you know what? I knocked him over and scored a goal because he was a physical strength of a child. Yeah. And so I kind of think you might have someone who looks the height of an adult, but when you've got such a handicap of such a lower average age, there is no way that you're going to do anything and succeed. So maybe everyone should be completely accepting of this. Yeah, go on,
John. We all want to know what happened to you after that.
I'll tell you. Yeah, I'll tell you what happened. A lot of people came up to me and said, "What are you doing?" Because I literally went up to him, pushed him, he fell over, I took the ball and scored, right? And his dad was in goal, my boss. So people were saying, "You do realize that is your boss?" And I went, "Yeah, and that's why I'm going to hit this ball as hard as I can." So I kept my job. Don't worry, I kept my job. I'm now my own boss, so there's no issues there anymore. But yeah, I wanted to know your opinion, having seen this, that there's such a massive age gap, and I wanted to know your opinion on the point of the Futuro system. Let's start with you, Art, because I think your opinion is quite interesting on this.
So yeah, we had this discussion before, and thank you for these numbers because I didn't know this. In my opinion, the Futuro is just at the start, and it's okay if they fail. It's okay if they lose. If it's okay even if they get relegated to Serie D, E, F, whatever is there, because everyone at this team is new to the league, maybe except Odo. And I think the minimum that they should require any coach to do is to stay in Serie C or to promote the team to Serie C next season. The rest of it, how many losses they have, how many times they lose, shouldn't be really important, because these are players who we might have bought otherwise and let them rot on our bench. Now they have a Serie C, which is not as professional as Serie A, but you have a medium. You tell them, go ahead, you are the starting player, and show me something, and show me that you can, work, you can learn, and you can follow instructions by a coach. If they can do that, that's all you have to request from them. But the problem is when you make a team and you give it to Bonera, and we all know as a player he sucked, and as a coach he was the assistant of Pioli. So what do you expect him to learn from Pioli? And then you give a project which is at least $25 million, right? And I would expect them to give the team to a coach who knows how to deal with young players, how to bring the best out of them. And he didn't, and that was a huge failure. I think if Abate was staying, it was much better. But at this moment, it's great that we have a team in Serie C, and we don't have to bring a 19-year-old to the senior team and basically tell them you have just 5 minutes to show me what you got, because that's impossible unless you are Messi. And we have already a Ronaldinho and a Xavi and a Puyol. You're not going to show me anything. You remember when we used to bring on Kamada or even CDK at his beginning in the first few days, in the last minutes when we were 2-0 down, 2-1 down.
That was so frustrating.
And we expected them to do something. It was too much to ask from them.
All right, so there you go. That's an interesting, different opinion. Hasni, having seen the ages, what's your opinion on this?
So on that all the way back to before we established the Futuro. So before then, what the strategy was, players who have somewhat of a bright spark in them from the Primavera, they get passed around, loaned to different teams. And there were times, and I remember Colombo, maybe his first team that he was loaned out to was actually in Serie B. So that was already a level higher. Now he plays in Serie A, and you could say that he's not doing that great. But that's really how it's done, yeah? So then the management would have to find loan deals for these players or identify the ones that are decent, and the rest of them sell them for whatever you can. So when we established the Futuro, and now I think we should also change the name because it doesn't really represent anything to do with the future. They're at the bottom of the league. I then start to think about whether having a team of these sort of players at the, you could say, one of the lowest rungs of football in Italy, whether it would help them as opposed to passing them around from loan to loan. We see now, yeah. So they at the bottom, players are losing value. Even when they get into first team, they're either on the bench or, as you mentioned, John, only playing for a few minutes. It's just not working. So we've had the season to test it out. I think one good springboard about why it would have worked is that if had we kept Abate, then we would really have been able to see somewhat of a progression. And Abate is in Serie C, by the way. So
yeah, and he's doing well.
Yeah, and he's doing quite okay. And this is why it's not to say that the project or the reason why we have Futuro team is not working is because of the support system and the management behind it. Absolutely, in addition to some of the players, they suck. Yeah, you can't develop these players with a substandard coach who doesn't know what he's doing. And like this guy, I don't know who he is, but he has some good ideas in the chat, saying that the only thing Bonera learned from Pioli is about his love for Krunic. Bonera is not a decent coach on any means.
You don't know who this guy is in the chat. You don't know who this guy.
But I like what he says. I agree with a lot of his
Yeah,
points.
I bet you do.
So
I absolutely agree with Hosni. I mean, the only problem with Futuro is the people who you have left it in their hands. Ibra is a failure. Whoever he brought with him from USA, he must have been a failure. I mean, how hard it is to bring 20, maybe 15 talented players and tell them, all you have to do is to stay in the top 10. That's all. That's not much pressure in Serie C. And then leave it to Bonera. I mean, that's...
Yeah, this is why our favoritism in this club is killing the entire football. Yeah, favoritism of Musa, favoritism of whoever the hell, I don't remember what his name of this Futuro guy, head of Futuro.
Kirovsky.
Yeah, Kirovsky. Favoritism about Ibra. Why Ibra is a sudden part of management from being a player who in his last season contributed absolutely nothing other than scoring a penalty that he celebrated just because he's like the oldest scorer in the league. So it's a lot of structural issues that we're facing here. And I want to say that I do want Futuro to continue. I really want it to work out. But it also needs an overhaul.
To be honest, Hosni, it's a huge opportunity for young players to tell them, if you don't do good, you still get to start next game. You will not lose your position to Theo or Leao. Imagine if you are a professional player who want to be a professional player with talent. You tell them, this is the team and you are wearing this shirt, but you don't have much pressure. And all we have to see is some sparkles to see that you have it in yourself. Just few moments will be enough for us to either loan them out or to sell them or even promote them to the main team. And their failure shouldn't really upset us as much as the failure of senior team does.
Yeah, you're right. All right. And this is the point about the loan. We need to maintain both systems, yeah? A decent Futuro and a system of having players who we think can do well at different teams being loaned out. And I've said this before. I said, we don't need to loan them out to like La Liga, EPL. They won't take any of our players, by the way. Just find a team that is in a competitive league outside of the top 5. If they can start the majority of the games, I don't know whether they can start all the games if you're a loan player. if they can start the majority of those games and do well, that's already a big win. We're already developing a player well.
Interesting. So I take your points on board. I think unfortunately they've been set up to fail. That's basically what I think is happening here. And the other thing is the club valuation, the player valuation. This is another problem that is an effect of what's happened. Is you started with 30 odd million valuation, and that's been dropping because the performances have been so poor, and so you end up not only selling those players, but you're selling them for a way under the value that they had achieved at their peak. So you've got examples. I think we spoke about them. Is it Kirkes? I'm trying to remember which one it was, but there's a player that's gone to the EPL and is now going to possibly be sold for 60 odd million.
Yeah,
and
Kirkes one of them. Simic, I think, will probably fall in this path.
Exactly. So you've got a situation there where players are actually being sold for way below. So we're not taking the money that we should be making because we're giving them away in really bad deals, and we don't take enough percentage of the future sell-on values. So an entire restructure needs to be done. But I thought I'd point out the fact that Serie C, clearly, there is, in our group at least, Girone B, it's clearly kind of heavily weighted towards a physical league, which makes sense since it's a lower division. It's more reliant on physicality. I'm going to say something as a slight difference. Juventus also have their youth team in another group, right? So Serie C, Group A or something like that. I can't remember which one exactly. But they are doing okay. I think they are doing okay. And they have quite a young team. Nowhere near as young as ours, but they also have quite a young team. But because they have a good structure in place, they are nowhere near the relegation positions.
I think Atlanta also have a youth team in the lower league as well.
Yeah. So let's move on because I think the next bit is a good bit of fun. Yeah, Simic was a big mistake. I mean, Simic would have been a really, really nice player to have had there available. It really would have been good. So we're going to talk about the defense in a minute, Kashavid, because Art has got really interesting stats that we need to look at. But let's just have a bit of fun. So I sent round to everyone in the chat, and I invite anyone online to do this, and maybe send it to us through X or one of our channels. You are the coach. What would you do if you had the power? What formation would you choose? What players would you put out? So here is Art's team. It's a back three, Art, right?
Yep.
So you have Manyan, and then you have Gabbia in central defense with Walker on the right, Pavlovic on the left. So it's kind of three defenders that can actually all play as central defenders. You got Theo and Bondo on each side, Reindeer and Fofana in the middle, Leao, Pulisic, and Jimenez. So first thing you notice here, it is not a back four, and it's not a 4-2-3-1, right? Coach Nico goes a bit more extreme even. He says, Magic Mike in goal, Gabbia centre back, Walker on the right. So we've got a lot of similarity here with you, Art. Then he says, not worthy of Milan on the left side. On the right side of midfield, not worthy of Milan again. Then
I didn't know we have that option.
Yeah, I didn't know either, but that's actually a really good point. There are some positions where you obviously don't want to put Musa in, so you just got not worthy of Milan. You could put Bondo, Theo, Leao, Jimenez, Pulisic. So very similar, right? Let's look at Kashavit, who is watching us at the moment. This is his team. Manyan, Gabbia, Walker, Theo, Bondo, Fofana, Reindeer. So you see, I like this formation. It's very similar to one that I actually made myself, which I started all of this. And he's got Liberali in the cam position. You see the one youth player that comes in completely surrounded by talent and quality. And then Leao, Jimenez, and Pulisic up top. So you can see a pattern again. The defensive midfielder is a real defensive midfielder, Bondo, right? He's not asking anyone else to do it, and he's got a real cam in position as well. So I like it, Kachavit. I like it very much. Fahadinho is really passionate, so he submitted two teams. The first one, is on the left. Ciao, Gabian Pavlovic. So 3 centre backs, and then on the wings he's got Theo and Walker, which I guess are wing backs that can make a back 5. Reindeer, Fofana, and then Jimenez, Pulisic, Leao. Do you see the similarity here, guys, between all of our squads? Between the fan base, I think we would be really confident in putting together a starting team that does not rely on a 4-2-3-1.
Can I say something about one of these formations? I mean, who do we have on the bench for defense?
Oh no, that would be it. That would be if someone gets injured, that's it. Yeah. Musa, hey!
But it's amazing.
Yeah, that's the problem. That's the problem. I mean, that is the. Here we go. Here we go. We have been spammed again. I think when you reach a certain number of subs, you start getting spam every single pod. Fahadinho's second team is Theo. So it's a back 4. His second team, but it's a 4-4-2. Okay, so he's got Abraham and Jimenez. You could put the young kid up there with Jimenez as well. That would be quite an interesting one. But I think most fans are screaming for, let's just try a back 3. But great point, Art. You start a back 3 and then one of them gets injured, we're in trouble. And this is Carmelo's team, and I gave him the last word because Carmelo was like, F this. The current squad is garbage. I'm going to say, I want this, which is the greatest team ever assembled. So Carmelo, I bow to you, sir. He's an awesome traditionalist, and I love the symbol. I really love that emblem. And the discussion is that next year we're possibly going to have an away shirt with that instead of the badge, which will be, I think, will be pretty cool. Okay, so now I wanted to have a discussion on fixture list because I don't think a lot of people have seen this, and it's really interesting, guys. So we now have won 2 games in a row, right? Struggled against Lecce and Como, but we got the 6 points. Here comes the next month. Match day 30, we will be away to Napoli. Then, on Wednesday, the 2nd of April, we will be playing in the semi-final of the Coppa d'Italia against Inter Milan. 3 days later, we're playing match day 31 at home to another competitor, Fiorentina. Then, 6 days later, we've got Udinese away. It's never an easy game. And then we've got Atalanta at home, match day 33. And then finally, the second leg against Inter Milan again. So I wanted to kind of highlight for everybody the hellhole to be expecting in the following month. I think this could be brutal for us. And so if anybody's like, oh, we're only 5 points behind Juventus, guys, and they are playing some of the big teams. Yeah, look at our fixtures, and then you tell me where the points are coming from. So let's start with you, Hasni. Now that you can see the fixtures for the next month, tell me where the points are coming from, please, sir.
Points are coming from the ref. That's number one. Because I don't know. These teams really want it. If you look at Napoli, they really want it. Fiorentina, they really want it. And further to that, if you see the table, there's about 3 competitions that is going on. One is the competition between the top 4. Top 3 to win the title. The next competition is to get that 4th place. So I think there's Juve, Lazio, and
Fiorentina.
Fiorentina are fighting to get there. Then the next competition, the one that we're in, is trying to get into Europe. And that's either through the Conference League or through the Europa, which then brings us on to the Coppa Italia. I don't want to rule us out because we have seen miracles before. Even with this number of these players, miracles have been pulled off. I thought the Super Coppa was a miracle. We could do it again. But if we try over 2 legs, like the Coppa Italia, it's going to be all the more difficult. So the problem, and us being Milan, we could beat Napoli, we could beat Fiorentina, we could beat Atlanta, and lose to Udinese. This is so us, by the way. So that could happen.
Yeah.
Even in the Coppa Italia, we could win the first leg, and second leg get absolutely demolished and smashed. That we would lose by aggregate. So yeah, all that is possible.
Art, what do you think from looking at this?
I kind of agree with Hosni. It somehow depends on how many injuries we will have during the international break. But we will be facing Conte's fresh team, which means we will probably lose. He's a smarter coach. The team has a higher spirit, and we're playing at their home. So I'm not looking forward for that game. And if we lose to them, that would be the first time that I'm not upset, because that means Inter might not win the league. And the game with Inter, I think I'm a little bit optimistic about this one, because Inter is getting really tired. They have injuries.
Yes,
and
it's true.
they are playing 2 games a week, and they are not as strong as they were last year. So that might be something in our favor. With Fiorentina, again, as Hasni said, it's not predictable how we play with these teams. We could win 4-0 or lose 4-0. That's just not. Udinese,
We can't
another
win
black
4-0.
cat. Sorry?
We can't win 4-0. We'll probably win 4-3.
Yeah, exactly. Udinese is another black cat. They just get us every time, and we're playing at their home, so I'm not looking forward to that match either. With Atalanta, again, a great coach, a fantastic team. They are fighting for a lot more than we are, so it's going to be a tough game. Especially that the good thing is that it's going to be at San Siro, but I think San Siro for us has lost its power.
Yes.
It doesn't mean anything. It's full house. It's banned. You walk in at 15th minute. It doesn't matter. We are going to play like shit. And then finally, the Inter Milan. It's just it's unpredictable. It depends which Inter will show up, the tired Inter or the fresh, hungry Inter.
Yeah. So I take all your points on board. I'll point something out that I said 2 weeks ago. I said there is a game coming up where Milan are gonna get we're gonna get destroyed, like 4-5-0. And I think it's in the next month. One of these fixtures has definitely got that written all over it. And I think the team needs that kind of it's going to get that slap, because think about the way we don't play against teams like Lecce or Como and then wait for individual moments. You think teams that have real strikers will not put us to the sword and take us to the cleaners? I think there's a 4-5-0 in one of these fixtures. I can't even point you to. In fact, there could be more than one. I hate to say. But your point on Inter Milan is a really interesting one, Art, because they've got Bayern Munich in the Champions League. Is it right? Have they got Bayern Munich? Am I right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So they've got Bayern Munich, and that's really tough. And I subscribe to only one Interista channel. That is Uncle Sharma. He's a good guy. And I've said to him, I'm looking forward to our games against you, because it's the last thing we've really got to play for. And his comment was, I'm not looking forward to playing you guys. And I think it's for that point you just said, Art. They have a lot to fight for. And when you've got so many fronts to be going after, they are picking up a lot of injuries now. And players are having to be rested. Against Feyenoord, they had to rest players because of exhaustion. So it's going to be an interesting one, I think, depending on what they're doing in the league and what they're doing in the Champions League. Okay.
The only interesting thing about these fixtures is that Musa is not going to play against Napoli.
Oh, is he suspended?
Yes, thank God. No.
This is when you miss him. You're going to miss him running back into our box and giving away a penalty. That's what you're going to miss. Okay, so Kachavit says he thinks Napoli and Atalanta are going to pump us. It is very possible. It is. We don't know what Milan's going to turn up. We don't know how much of a game Milan is going to play. We don't know how many minutes of every game we're going to play. So, but I wanted to show you guys this because I think it's really important to have a look at our next fixtures in the long term. It is not pretty. So for people, you're going to hear this from other podcasts, and this is my point again. You're going to watch other podcasts saying, Pulisic masterclass, Reindeer's a genius, oh, blah, blah, blah. And you're going to think, oh, it's only 5 points to Juventus. Wait. Just wait.
That's going to
The
change
gap
tonight.
Exactly. The gap will expand.
No, I was
All right.
saying on X, I was saying that for us to have an iota of hope to make it to UCL, 5 teams have to lose every match, even when they are facing each other, and we should win like all those games, and that's not going to happen. So.
Yeah, I mean, so interesting thing you say this. Optascore yesterday put out a prediction of Milan making the Champions League. They made it 0.88% likelihood of Milan making Champions League. That's according to Optascore, and that is something that Ronaldo presented. So I went, is that true? So I went to Optascore and checked, and yes, it was 0.88%. That was before the Como game. I should clarify. I'm sure it's gone up after the Como game, but
I think
it's probably gone up.
That's exactly how what the percentage of Udinese making it to Champions League.
Yeah, but Udinese are just behind us, so
yeah.
There you go. There you go. Okay, Art, this is for you. So take it away, sir. You tell me when to change, right?
Sure. So yes, so I've noticed that. So every time there is talk about this Milan, they say the defense suck, and they keep rotating Pavlovic with Gabbia with Theo, the Thiago, and Chow with Tomori, and Tomori with Pavlovic. What we don't look at is the stats. I felt like we play with 2 central defense, and each of them have an average of 3.5 clearance each game. On average, combined Serie A and Champions League, which means the clearance, what it indicates is how busy the defense is actually. So if you compare that to what Inter central defense do, which is just 1 central defense, is almost the same, but these 2 players don't play together. Either one of them plays in each game. And the rest of the defense, which is left and right fullback, if you go to the next slide, they have similar clearance as Milan. So what it means is that the midfield is not doing a good job clearing the ball, and that makes a huge pressure on our defense. And if we just that's why I would like to go back to 3-5-2, because then we will have one man extra in midfield, someone who would do more. Look at our players. Leao loses balls every second. Pulisic loses ball a lot. Whether it's Musa, it's Chukwueze, it's Jimenez, they lose the ball a lot, and there is no one to cover it. And usually that ball immediately ends up in our defense, and they have to cover it. They have to clear it, which is not really. I mean, I don't know how they miss this stat, or maybe this doesn't mean anything at all. But in general, if you see that the defense has all these clearances compared to what, let's say, Bastoni, who by many Interista correctly is considered as a world-class defense, and you see he it comes from the teamwork. It has a lot to do with the teamwork, but still, if you put all this pressure on Chow and Pavlovic and whoever is playing, at some point they will break, they will make mistakes. And watching Milan over past 2 years, you see that midfield is not doing a great job recovering balls. And if we add one man, just because we don't have the right man, right, just because we don't have the right squad, we have to play 3-5-2. And if one day you can bring a really good central midfielder, then we can go back to 4-4-2 or any other formation. But at this point, look at Chow, look at Theo. He has a tendency to attack and to defend. And what Conceição says about him is that we have to curb his instincts of attacking. Who says that about a player? we have to make sure that he just defends. He doesn't attack. I mean, if Theo is sold anywhere above 20 million, it's because of his attacking abilities.
True.
And if to have a player like Maicon, like Theo, like, Maldini, someone who has this instinct of attacking and defending, that's a plus. But we are telling our player, both Walker and Theo, don't do anything for attack, and we want you to curve your energy and focus on defense and play Musa, which means basically you are covering for Musa. I would really see if Musa is sent off, will there be any difference on our defense? There will be no difference in the pressure they are enduring every game. And I haven't seen many people talking about this thing. They usually criticize Chow, who is an excellent player. I think if he goes to any top team, after a few months, he's going to turn into a world-class beast. Same thing for Pavlovic, Tomori. But at this Milan, it's just it doesn't work for anyone, because they have too much work to do every game. And
Art. So that's a really interesting point, and this basically points to the fact that, and everyone knows this, that we don't talk about this number, which is a really interesting number, Art. It's the first time I've ever seen it, and that's why I was like, you need to show this, we need to talk about this. But it points to something that the entire fan base does know: the defensive midfielders that are missing, which are shielding the back four from having to make so many defensive clearances. So the reason our two centre backs are so busy is because of reasons that we all know as a fan base, which is, as we said earlier, and as we've been saying for over a year, Kessie, Tonali, Benacer not replaced correctly at all. So you do that, you leave the back four to always have to make clearances. So that, when you first presented that to me, I thought, Jesus, that's really odd. But then you think, no, actually, it makes sense. It's because the defensive midfielders that are not there. So we can't play the formation that we're playing. And this helps to point to that. Again, I think there was one more thing, Art, which was Walker as an example.
Walker, yeah, that's the difference between his job in Man City and in Milan. Look at the difference. I know he didn't start all games, but I even took that into consideration. And he has 4.2 clearances in Champions League, and he has started all those games, compared to 0.5 average across all competitions for Man City. That tells you all that when players come to Milan, defenders especially, you can't really judge them based on the team we have now.
Yeah. Hasni, I wanted to, now you've seen how the data's presented. Personally, I'm not sure I like Pavlovic as because he gets a lot of red cards. He's quite aggressive. I don't particularly like him, but I'd say these numbers are interesting as an indicator of our defensive midfielders failing. What do you think, though, Hasni, from after hearing Art explain them?
Yeah, so if you compare to a team that's doing well, so if we look at the stats as you showed of the Inter players, so if you are more threatening in attack, there are less opportunities, I guess, for the opponents to attack you in turn. Yeah, you're just dominating the game. So these stats would look a lot different if we were at the top table and doing well also on the offensive front. Now, for our defenders, and we talk about the clearances, I'm also looking at how many situations have they been put under unnecessary pressure. So when I say unnecessary pressure, it means that we have a bad pass, and then the opponents completely break through our midfield and go straight at us, or we concede a bad foul in a very vulnerable position, and we just force into a scrum in the box. So all these situations, I believe that we need to fix it as a team, from the midfield all the way back until the defenders. Other than that, I think for each of the players, and I agree with Art, is that for Tiao, giving them a better team, better opportunities, maybe better setup of the chemistry within the team would do a lot better. They still have a place within the team. Less so, in my opinion, for Tomori, because some of his mistakes, I think, is just inability to handle pressure, how he commits his fouls. But I do like some things that I see from Pavlovic, for example, how he, even in the dying moments of the game, he still tries to push forward, still tries to create something. I mean, yeah, defensively, we probably got not much else left to prove if you're chasing the game. So these players, players like him do have a place in the team. Otherwise, yeah, we wouldn't. It wouldn't hurt to bring in an experienced defender.
I think just to add a little point before John, we go to your opinion, is that it also has something to do with our wingers and attacks. So I've watched a lot of La Liga for a while, maybe 2010, 2014, and every time Messi wanted to do something, there were two players covering him behind. So if he loses the ball, it was usually the case. When Messi loses the ball, it's end up on the goal because he does that a lot. And the opponent are looking for one of those chances. So every time he had the ball, there was someone guarding him from behind. So they would recover the ball immediately. They had a strategy. When Liao wants to make a dribble, at some point I think he has a phobia to try anything, because once he loses the ball, that's it. It's gonna end up in our box. And the team, you see that the team doesn't even know that he wants to do that. So they haven't prepared any strategy. When this guy has the space, we know he's gonna do it. So let's just watch him. Let's be behind him. Someone can build up the attack with him, but some people have to be in alert to make sure that they recover the ball in case he loses it. But that's you don't see in Milan. That's why we hate Chucky. That's why someone like CDK did not dare to try anything new, because once he loses the ball, then he's the culprit. He will be the guy who leads us to concede the goal.
Yeah, on that point, if I refer all the way back to the Scudetto winning season, that was Kessie's job. So when Liao charged forward, and yeah, there were times inevitably he would lose the ball, Cassie was already there as that backstop, physically trying to block the charge through our midfield. We're not seeing it, and one of my observations is that when we do concede, I always keep an eye on our midfield. How fast are they tracking back? Where are they when we lost the ball? There's such a big gap, and this is why you lose the ball, you're already up against our defenders. There's no one there to stop you.
Exactly.
Yeah. I always thought that if you're taking players away from being central defensive midfielders, pure defensive midfielders, then you're going to bring in players that maybe have other qualities. So maybe you lose a little bit in the defensive side, but you gain in ball possession, for example. But that has not happened. This squad bypasses the midfield in essence. They're just constantly firing, looking for a direct pass, and then hoping, as we've said earlier, for individual moments to score goals. It's just no way to. It's no way to sustainably challenge for top four. It's just not going to happen. And Art, I thought those numbers are really interesting. So thank you for bringing them up. Really interesting discussion on that. But that completes our pod for today. We did 1 hour 20. So let's see. Say thank you to Kim. Thank you, Kashavit. Carmelo, I know you're working, but you'll be watching us later. Gunnardi, I think, as well, was live, and I'm not going to say anything about the bot.
Yeah, and on our group chat, Fahadin also, he'll be catching us later. But thanks to everyone who's watching us after this pod, and especially thanks to you, Art. You're welcome anytime back and to be regular here. And yeah, if anyone, I repeat this, catching us on our other socials, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Instagram. We're also on Instagram Live, by the way. So yeah, do drop us a DM if you want us to cover any topics, or if you have any feedback, suggestions, or if you want to join our WhatsApp group. So that's always open to anyone who's listening. Just drop us a DM and we'll add you into the group.
Awesome, man. So have a great week. Now we've got the international break, so enjoy watching Italy with their limited amount of talent, some people would say. Absolute BS. Don't get me angry. You don't want to see angry gorilla. But I would say enjoy the international break. Have a little bit of a break from Milan. Very healthy. I'm going to put up the pod where I spoke with Art for an hour about fandom in football. And when we come back, get ready, because April's going to be monumental. Ciao a tutti and Forza Starfish.
Forza Starfish, Forza WWE collab, Forza Red
Forza
Bull,
Milan.
Forza Milan.
Che comunque il calcio è imprevedibile e le cose non sono mai scontate, quindi è anche la bellezza, no, di questo sport.
Io rappresentavo per questa squadra, era quello che non mollava mai, quello che doveva fare stare sempre su il morale, ma io mi ci trovavo bene perché sono sempre stato uno che mi piaceva dare fuoco ai miei compagni, caricarli prima delle partite.
Il mio sogno di Saverato è uno dei sogni dei bambini, di tanti bambini.
Il gol è un qualcosa per la gente che riusciamo a fare diventare matti, riusciamo a fare diventare felici e contenti.
Con questa maglia devo